People don't want to say it, but part of playoffs is trying to hurt every player on the other team. And the more guys you take out, the more advantage your team has.
Yep, it was another week of, well, mayhem. More bone-crushing hits. We've got kids crying, Zadorov crying, angry coaches mocking players, and what some are calling an embellishment epidemic.
I think we officially have a call it an embellishment epidemic.
Fans picking their nose, whatever it is that this fan was doing. Some crazy close calls, players mocking players. Well, plenty of that actually. Beef on the ice and beef on the ice. And with another 3 teams eliminated, we are now about halfway to the Stanley Cup being lifted.
And a face-off, what? Score!
And, of course, we got plenty of officiating that continues to be suspect at best. So, along with some great sound bites.
So I don't know if that ref's got the DraftKings sportsbook going right now, but that was kind of a BS call.
We've got plenty to cover again, so let's get to it. As usual, I'll start with the nasty because things are chippy out there. In Colorado, after Makar was on the ice, his helmet was on the ice, what happened? It was Marchand popping the lid off and then poking him in the eye? That cannot have been too comfortable. We had more warm-up shenanigans as Maroon chirped Bob with an earful. We had the Trouba train coming through on Drury. And then Chris Tanev in Game 5 taking a shoulder from McKinnon, which pushed a tooth up into his lip. He would leave that game, but returned to play another 26 shifts.
My teeth went into my lip, so I had to pull my lip back over my teeth and stitch it up.
Hockey players are just different. Then in Edmonton, it was Ekholm hit first from Lindholm, and then Joshua as he took some heavy ones back to back. But wait, look at that fan. Did he forget that Lindholm is not in Calgary anymore? But since we're in Edmonton, how about that Oilers-Canucks series? It's been a wild one. Last night, we had the big Desharnais going up against the much smaller Garland in the first, and I don't know why that alone made me laugh, but in the second, it was Bouchard mocking Garland's height. You're 5 foot. And it's been all series. In Game 2, it was Zadorov with a big hit on Kane. He benches him and holds him there a bit, so as a result, he got a roughing penalty. He's upset, which Kane seemed pretty happy about. Thank you for the power play, until his mood shifted real quick, realizing he also got a bench minor for holding onto Zadorov's stick. And again, we've had plenty of this game within the game stuff. At the end of that game was when McDavid took that nasty double cross-check, which of course got Soucy a game suspension. But Hyman got away with one as it was cross-check galore out there.
My thought on that, they have to protect their investment. So that's my understanding.
Those stitches by your eye, is that from the end of the game?
Yeah.
So how come they're not protecting you?
Well, I guess I don't make that much money for the league. I don't know.
And so, next game, it was Perry with, I'm not exactly sure what, but it made me chuckle. In Game 4, it's Lindholm with words for Draisaitl, who's so scared. Joshua taking a shot from Nurse, acts like he hardly even noticed. So later, on the Oilers' power play, it's Draisaitl who scores and makes sure to let Joshua know. That's for you, baby. And again, we got Zadorov mocking Kane. Wah. Wah. But with that, how about we take a look at some quick ones? A tough look here for this fan caught booger-handed. And speaking of fans, did you see it? Who wears a VR headset to a viewing party? Then in Dallas, after Ben and Wood came together, watch Ben stick. He's about to rip the headset from Ray Ferraro until Scott Wedgwood comes in to save the day. In Boston, we had Tkachuk with time remaining, just couldn't help himself as he was so excited to move on to the third round. And we've seen rats, octopus, catfish on the ice, but in Edmonton, we got Alberta beef on the ice. And I don't know, I kind of like it. And in Edmonton, after Hyman showed up with his Shaq Hyman jersey, we had fans trolling Zadorov in the box.
You fucking look at me! Yeah, you fuck.
But look at that cheeky grin. As we also had the Oilers trolling Canucks fans, and I thought this was pretty good. Then we had Hughes wondering what we're all wondering. Why is Paul Maurice so upset? I mean, dude was absolutely giving it to his team.
Just thought they needed some profanity in their life. I brought some.
And speaking of coaches, is that Jared Bednar? behind Jared Bednar? Almost looks like a before and after of this series, which Monty should know a thing or two about, as the Bruins broke the NHL playoff record for too many men at 7. I'll remind you, they only made it to the second round. Speaking of too many men, look at this. How does this go uncalled? And so with that, how about we get into the officiating? This week we had Tkachuk with not 1, but 2 high-stick infractions and 0 calls made. Yet in Vancouver, this was called a charging penalty. Pettersson essentially bracing for contact. You tell me, where's the charge exactly? Back in Florida, McAvoy shot, save, huge rebound, and the whistle got blown dead. For what? I guess to see if Bobrovsky was alright. This is a live puck. I do not understand how you blow that dead, as Montgomery had clearly had enough of the officiating in this series.
I know you don't mean to. I'm sorry I yelled at you, but you know, it's emotions. I know you did. Oh, I was pissed at you.
Then overtime in Dallas, it's Marchand rips one home to take the series. What a goal, but wait a second, it was immediately waved off. For what? Goalie interference. I mean, after what we saw last week, you almost cannot make this up. How does this not count?
Dutchy's ass was over the line. His feet were outside, but his ass was over the line. So that's the explanation I got.
I think Biz said what we're all thinking.
So I don't know if that ref's got the DraftKings sportsbook going right now, but that was kind of a BS call.
It didn't matter though. The Stars would take it in double overtime anyway, and look at the heartbreaker Selly. You gotta love this shot if you're a Stars fan, as McKinnon just couldn't believe it. But also, check this out. Marchand with a petty little kick of his stick. Then from here, how about that Canes Rangers Game 6 where Anderson had a bit of a rough one. After getting 1, then a second, and going up 2-0, the fans were feeling it until the Rangers pressed and scored. It's Anderson tripping over his feet, and just like that, the lead was cut in half. But no worries, Aho on the other end would regain the 2-goal lead, which was then nearly given up again as Martinook made an unbelievable stop to keep this a 2-goal game. They just had to hold on to force Game 7, but there's only so much you can do when the goalie's having an off night, as Anderson would let in another strange one, Kreider jamming home his first to make it a 1-goal game. Then just 5 minutes later, Panarin shot and they score again. Kreider again with his second now. A nice redirect and we had ourselves a tied game until Lindgren behind the net to the front and they score again. It's Kreider with his third, a natural Hattie to take the lead as the Hurricanes completely collapsed at home. Game 6 with the Rangers taking it 5-3. Brutal. And I mean, you gotta feel for this kid. And so while Anderson had an off night, how about we give the goalies some love? Because the Oilers bench gave Skinner none of it. This week we had Silovs with highway robbery on Perry. Somehow this doesn't cross the goal line. And then Silovs being an absolute maniac. Down a goal, final minutes of the third, he comes out with balls of steel. Then we had Bobrovsky one-on-one with DeBrusk as he makes not 1 but 2 huge stops. Heading over to Dallas now, in what was an elimination game, it was Ottinger who made several big saves in a game that again went to overtime, as he was key in backstopping his team into the 3rd round. And the goalies have been so inspiring, even baseball is catching on. The Savannah Bananas with a hilarious tribute to hockey. And then, while not in the NHL but the BCHL, check out this incredible behind the back save from Callum Tongue. Wow. And finally, how about we get into some of the sound bites?
To go from Barkey to Baby Barkey.
Baby Barkey, huh?
After a Game 3 loss with several posts hit, Draisaitl had this to say.
Well, post is not good goaltending.
Coming right back, Silovs had this to say.
You made a key save late in the period off Draisaitl. Can you take us through that one?
Which one?
And then we got our seemingly weekly chirp on Biz.
I'm more nervous than when I played right now.
You wouldn't be playing in playoffs. Don't worry.
Speaking of which, you remember when Biz and Liam of TNT made bets on whether the Islanders or Leafs would make it further? Well, with both being first-round exits, they took their punishment.
All right. Hang on, okay. This is my show. Who wants it? Get him, lads. Get him.
Then, in what was some controversy last week where Bennett caught Marchand with a sneaky shot, Marchand had some interesting comments.
I think you got to weigh with a shot, but I'm not going to complain. I mean, shit happens and people don't want to say it, but part of playoffs is trying to hurt every player on the other team, and the more guys you take out, the more advantage your team has.
We also got another Spectre special.
Did you ever think that you maybe never would get a playoff game in the NHL?
It's a legitimate question. Obviously, you never know.
And Matt Duchene with a pretty funny moment here.
That Muzzie's nice, by the way. If you got Hank's hair and his suits, I think you'd look like Ron Burgundy.
And lastly, in memory of one of the best to do it, Darren Detition passed away this week. So I wanted to share one of my favorite clips.
But he had mentioned Hal Gill's a defenseman with a long stick. Is this a guy that's going to be traded, though?
You're an announcer with a long stick from time to time.
Yeah, big mouth, I guess.
I don't know.
That's about it for this week. As always, thank you for watching. I appreciate it very much, and I'll see you in the next one.